Before we begin, I thought that how content creators manipulating having a community
Right.
is calling their listeners something like a nickname.
Okay.
And I think we should call them Pop-Tarts. Hello, my Pop-Tarts.
Why Pop-Tarts? It's got nothing to do with our name.
Because it's funny.
We can call ourselves the Margot Robbie fan club.
Margot Robbie fan club. Welcome to the Margot Robbie fan club. Official Margot Robbie fan club.
We got a blue tick and everything. Hello, and welcome to I Hate Your Movie. I'm Rick, and this is Dan.
Yay.
And this is a movie podcast where we inflict movies upon each other for your entertainment. Finally got that tagline.
Yeah.
After 28 episodes.
30 episodes.
After 30 episodes. We finally got that tagline down to...
Now we just have to say it in one go one time. But that's
Well,
fine. I can edit it.
We'll do that for episode 100.
Yeah.
This week we watched Ready or Not, the 2019 horror film starring Samantha Weaving.
Samara.
Cool. Would you like to know how it did out in the world? What's its IMDb rating? What's its Rotten Tomatoes rating?
I looked this up.
Yeah.
But go on.
So IMDb, it got 6.9 out of 10, which is okay. It's not a bad score. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got 89% fresh,
Yeah.
which is
From critics.
from everyone.
Well, there's critics one and the audience. And it was surprisingly even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you know you've made a good film, when the critics and the audience both agree.
I'm reserving my thoughts.
I assume it didn't make much money, because most don't, and I assume it didn't cost a lot, because they only built one set for the entire film. The rest was filmed like on locations around Canada.
They filmed in Bob Iger's mansion.
Out of frame is like a golden statue of Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
fucking a cow. I don't know.
Yeah, because those rich people are always kinky.
Mm.
Weirdly. It's a Mickey Mouse hugging Epstein, a golden statue.
Mickey Mouse spitting on the face of...
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, that would have been good.
It's just like a naked Walt Disney painting. His legs are crossed. It looks at you wherever you are in the room.
It's actually him.
Yeah.
His frozen head's inside it. What are we talking about?
Ready or Not.
Okay, cool. So, you were visibly... I could feel the waves of hate coming from you while
I
we were
could
watching
not
this film.
contain it. I try to not give off vibes when we're watching films, so that there's like a surprise element. I was so fucking frustrated during this film. I could not give up vibes.
I think if you'd have held it in any longer, the floor would have just melted and you'd have fallen through it.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my one sentence review?
I probably don't, but yes. It's
Now I know what a Disney horror film is like.
okay.
Shit. This movie is the second biggest shit I've ever seen in this show.
Yay.
It's hard to topple Little Nicky. But it's right behind there for different reasons.
I think that's harsh. I think you can't put this on the level, anywhere near the level of Little Nicky.
It's like with you and Catwoman and
Catwoman.
Suspiria.
Yeah.
It's very different reasons, but I fucking hated this movie with a passion.
Okay.
Like, where do I begin? I don't even know. Overall thoughts, it was edgeless. It was very non-offensive, very not horror-y. I hated everyone. I hated all the characters, including the main character, who you're supposed to root for.
And what was rooting for her?
I'm very curious why, but we'll get into that. Because she's probably the stupidest character I've ever seen in any movie in a while.
No.
Yep.
We will get into it.
Yeah. It gets into that thing where we watch horror films and you're like, this character wouldn't do this. And she did all of those.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
like
horror.
that.
That's what happens in every horror. Oh no, the guy's run into the woods. Let's chase after him. Oh, now we're in the woods in the middle of nowhere. Oh, there's 3 of us. Let's all split up in opposite directions. I'm sure that's going to end well for everyone. It's like a standard horror thing. Horror doesn't work unless people make terrible decisions.
I suppose, in a way, but I hated her. And I think she was not acting well. I think the only good actor, and this is Adam Brody, who is acting circles around everyone else. He was acting so hard, and everyone else was just like, fucking, yeah, it's a paycheck. I hated all the acting. I hated the story.
I think that was intentional. I think
Yeah.
the over-the-top people were meant to be, like, that's the film. The film doesn't work. Doesn't work for you anyway, but it doesn't work unless those people are
You can stop
a bit
there.
ridiculous.
The film doesn't work.
Well, 89% of people on Rotten Tomatoes disagree with you.
It is baffling. Absolutely baffling.
To you.
I can't fathom in my mind. I was looking forward to this film.
Yeah.
I liked the trailer.
Trailer was very spoilery. Do you feel like you might have enjoyed it a little bit more if you didn't see the trailer?
No.
Okay.
I'm usually fine with spoilers. I don't care that much.
I think spoilers isn't too bad if it's, oh, this character comes back to life. And you know that already. You can still enjoy the take of it. But the trailer had joke spoilers.
Okay.
They're standing there playing with the crossbow and it shoots one of the maids in the head.
Yeah.
Like, that's a joke. You can't put that in the trailer and still have it be funny in the film because you've already ruined it.
I watched a lot of films that was spoiled for me, and if it was a good film, I still enjoyed it. The story didn't work in this. Just it doesn't work.
Yes, it does. Again, it's a standard horror film. There's a demon and he's trying to kill people. I like that it flipped a lot of things on its head. Like, they're not sacrificing someone to the devil to get powers. They're doing it just to survive.
Okay.
That's new to me. I liked that the ensemble of the family were just a bunch of idiots. They're the most incompetent murderers you've ever met in your life.
That might be funny for a bit, but that's why the story doesn't work. Because there's no threat. There's absolutely no threat in this film. And all the things...
Yes, there is.
All the things that happen to the main character, Samara Weaving, is her fault.
But again, that's true of all horror films.
It's not true for
You know,
all
yeah, I'm
horror
gonna hide in this small cupboard away from the bad guy. That's not gonna last forever. So what's your plan there? You call the police. It's so stupid. All horror films. That's why I don't particularly like horror films, and that's why I like this one, because they're still deadly. I mean, they still kill people, accidentally or not. Like, there's still threat. Like, when the maid gets shot in the head, you know, that could have been Samara Weaving.
I never felt any sort of threat from them whatsoever. They were so incompetent. And so there's no tension in the movie.
When you're killing people accidentally, the threat of death is still there. If you were Samara Weaving's character in the film and someone was holding a crossbow at you, you wouldn't feel like, oh, that guy's an idiot, so I'm just going to stand here and cross my arms and be like, fuck you, buddy. You're going to be like, he's pointing a crossbow at me, run. That's threat.
But I'm more concerned about the guy who knows how to use a crossbow.
Yeah.
And they just fucked around most of the time, and they was very incompetent. And I know that's the joke, but there's no stakes now.
There is, because she can die.
Can she?
Yeah.
If she's being stupid.
But, yeah, I see your point, but I don't...
I don't agree with you that all horror films are like that. I just don't think you've seen enough
There's
horror
two
films.
kinds of horror films. There's the everyone makes terrible decisions, and there's the ones that just jump scare you every now and again. That's the two different kinds of
What
horror
about The
films.
Shining?
Sorry, modern horror films.
Okay.
There's two kinds of modern horror films then.
I completely reject your premise that is the two kinds of horror films.
Modern horror films.
Even then, I think horror right now is having kind of revival.
Oh, they've been saying that for years. It's always the same.
It is kind of like the golden era of horror, like
God, I hope not.
Get Out, or the Jordan Peele movies, or the
End of list.
no, Oz Perkins movies, like Gretel and Hansel, and I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House on Netflix film. All the Mike Flanagan films, Doctor Sleep. And
Okay. Nobody liked Doctor Sleep.
a lot of people like Doctor Sleep. I didn't much care for it, to be fair. But I like other Mike Flanagan stuff, like he did the Jesus Vampires,
Midnight Mass?
Midnight Mass.
That was quite good, actually. I give you
Yeah.
that.
So, you know, I kind of reject your premise, and I still don't think it works. Even if it's a comedy and it's a horror comedy, you need to care about something. Let's say the stupidest horror out there, like Friday the 13th franchise, which is just teenagers getting killed.
Right.
At least you see the gore and the effects, and it's fun. And that's it. And you see Jason Voorhees is kind of like the Hulk, this unstoppable force. And just see him mowing down everyone. That's the simplest I can get of getting attached to something. But this one, it didn't even have the edge. Like, it didn't have the horror. It was just a few scenes I winced at, but it's so safe and safely made. And like, I would have no problem with a kid watching this film. I really wouldn't. They say fuck a few times, but other than that, it should be like a rated G.
People get shot in the head.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they don't like.
Some of their faces missing.
They don't show it.
Yeah,
You know.
they do.
Not in close up, and not in an upsetting way like a horror should.
Maybe that's why I like this film when I don't like horror films.
Okay.
It did enough for me to flip it on its head.
Uh-huh.
That it was entertaining, it was funny, but it was also a horror film.
It's interesting because I think about this movie as one of the most generic, by the numbers movie I could ever think of.
The producer handed me some notes
Okay.
about how much this film cost to make and how much it made.
Okay.
So it cost $6 million to make, which is an amazingly low budget,
Yeah.
and it made 57 million. So nearly 1,000 times its production cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm baffled.
So no.
Yeah. Well, I guess the only thing I can think of, and I think this is why it has a high rating, is because a lot of people might commit, like on your level, which is like people who don't.
The dumb level.
The dumb normies level. No, the people who don't usually watch horror films, and they kind of surprised by horror comedy, that they enjoyed it, that kind of stuff. Maybe low expectations as well,
Okay.
because it looks like a low budget kind of thing, is like a whatever teenagers go in kind of movie, the cinema. Otherwise, I don't know, if all horror people who actually seen horror and good horror comedies seen this movie, they would have thumbs down on that shit.
Should we get into the film?
Let's get into the film.
After like 20 minutes intro of talking about the film that we've mostly ruined.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I've got lots of notes. I wrote down the intro gives away way too much. If the trailer didn't give away the plot, then the intro gives away the plot. I hated that.
Oh, were the kids running around?
Yeah, kids running around, and they do have the deadly hide and seek game
Yeah.
with someone, and it's a flashback. And this why? I know why. To establish that one of the kids don't like this little game.
Okay.
That's it.
No,
But
I wouldn't say that's why you
No?
do that. No, you do it for two reasons. One, because it goes against what you said a minute ago, and you establish threat. And two, it's because the miserable old woman.
The woman who's a mix between Cruella de Vil and Sonic. Gotta go fast.
Yeah, she's the bride in that scene.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you have to establish that she didn't want to do it, and then she did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Sure.
the point of that.
And then that doesn't get resolved at all. She goes hardline into the other way, and that's it. There's no like character arc.
It's foreshadowing his thing, the grooms,
But why?
because it's a cool little callback at the end of the film.
It's not cool because
You watch it again, you're like,
it tells you everything. So the way this movie is structured, I could imagine without the intro more tension building up.
okay.
Because everyone is acting a bit weird on the wedding. When this game comes up, some people just get this like worry on their face. And it would have been cool not to know exactly what's gonna happen, So even if you haven't seen the trailer, this intro gives away everything you need to know. And I don't like that.
Okay, that's fair.
I think the groom looks like Jared Kushner. I couldn't not see it. He's kind of like Jared Kushner with some meat on his bones.
Has Jared Kushner not got meat on his bones?
He's very skinny.
Is he?
Yeah, and this guy was a bit more Hollywood actor, lean, muscular. Some notes about the cinematography that I noticed immediately. This is where I wrote down a very Disney horror film. Looks like Haunted Mansion. They just filmed it normally, like a sitcom, like even lighting and everything, and they just put a horror filter on it, on After Effects, and everything is very like far away. There's a lot of mid shots,
Okay.
which is like waist to head.
Well, what scene are you talking about at the minute? The wedding or
All the scenes.
Okay.
This is like in general. Everything was mid-shot. There's no close-ups, no super close-ups. There's no far-away shots. And you kind of need that thing where you want to communicate something. Yeah, it was just lazy and safe, and I hated it.
I disagree. I think the reason they've gone for a lot of that is to get the background in and to get the like environment in, because it's supposed to be this safe, rich house. Everything's well lit and everything's, it looks nice. And then you've got this horror happening on top of that. And that's the point of it.
It looked like a horror house. It looked like
It's like an old mansion.
It looked like an Arkham Asylum. It looked like any horror.
It just looked like a rich person's mansion. Didn't look like Arkham Asylum.
It did.
Arkham Asylum's like stone walls and
That's what it
prison
looked like.
bars and
It looked
rats crawling around everywhere.
Baroque style.
If anything, it looks like Wayne Mansion.
Yeah, but that's spooky as well. Just looked like a generic spooky mansion.
It's just we'll do everything in this film in Batman references.
Yeah. So the plot is Samara Weaving is getting married to Jared Kushner. She's getting married into the Trump family, and everyone's worried about this game that they're later gonna have.
Do you not find like the family dynamics of the wedding really fun?
It was funny that they shit on rich people.
Okay.
That's kind of the whole film. The rich, egotistical narcissist are getting murdered.
Well, the thing of the film is that the family hate each other.
Well, yeah. They kind of reminded me of Succession, just much worse. In Succession, it was much more fun to watch them.
Just sneaking in, Dan talks about Succession.
Yeah.
The segment.
Yeah.
It's back from the dead.
In Succession, they hate each other, but the funny thing is, like, they are still a family and they're like there for each other. So that creates a very interesting dynamic where they like hate their father, but their father falls ill, so they have to go and like see him. It was very interesting. But this is just everyone just hates each other,
They help each other.
being
Murder
murderers.
people. Yeah.
During this scene, I wrote down this was my alternative one sentence review: Get Out, but only with whites.
And my favourite line, probably of the film, is when the Coke lady shows up and the aunt's like, brown-haired niece, you continue to exist.
Yeah,
Didn't even bother to learn her name. It's a niece.
it's just so very obvious.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. You think that rich people still try to keep up appearances even with close family? And it wouldn't be that obviously hateful. I wrote down exposition is painful. They keep bringing up this game, they keep bringing up the family, this and that. And a lot of scenes like two random people talking like, did you know Jared Kushner is came back to the family just a few years ago? It's just like, ugh.
It's hard to talk about a film that you hate so much because it's like without just going through the plot, and I don't want to go through the plot.
Yeah.
I want to ask questions and be interesting.
Okay, so this family, they keep bringing up that's a gaming family.
Yeah.
I imagine them in like a South Korean like esports event, like they play a StarCraft 2. It's weird they didn't include video games because
that's their job. There aren't any board game companies that also make video games.
okay,
Weird thing is that they're a board game company that owns NFL teams. That's
Yeah.
the weird bit.
well, are they a board game company?
Yeah.
I just assume that they like board games.
No,
Okay.
no, it's very detailed in the plot that they started selling board games.
The only thing I remember is that the great whatever grandfather was a hunter, that kind of gamer, programmer.
But he started selling board games. It's probably another
Okay.
reason why I like the film.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they've got all the board games on the shelves and that, because they're games that they've sold, that they sell. The games are themed upon like a cult.
Mm-hmm.
One's called Abracadabra. One's called LeBale's Gambit.
Yeah,
You know,
Monopoly. I'm surprised they didn't bring out the Ouija board.
there was a Ouija board
Yeah.
in the game thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was LeBale's Gambit,
Oh,
the
okay.
name of the game.
Oh, okay. That was the only chuckle I got out of this movie. Whenever they said they're a gaming family, and I just imagined them with like a gamer headset on, with like gaming mouse.
LEDs all around.
Yeah,
them, shining.
LEDs. Yeah, blue hair, playing Call of Duty.
Playing Rocket League.
Yeah,
They play the game at midnight.
they play the game at midnight, and there's a box that like they put a card in, and the box puts a stamp on it or something, and it comes out with like the name of the game, what they have to play. And it's like weird supernatural kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like that either. I thought it didn't need the supernatural angle. It would have been funny if they're just rich assholes and they just have like this history that they're so stuck to because they're afraid that they lose their money and influence.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the spooky ghost tells them to play hide and seek.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's the only deadly one. That's implied as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lady who says, oh, I'd play chess.
Yeah.
It's like,
I played backgammon.
yeah, what happens when they lose at that? Don't they get shot?
No.
Why not? Why is it that this is the only game the person who's getting introduced to the family is supposed to get killed?
Why is any of it? Like, why when they sacrifice people to demons and stuff? Like, why? Why do they need certain people at certain times?
Because the box tell them so. I don't know. And I'm not usually this nitpick about details, but like that's all I had to think about because there's nothing to this movie. I could only think about this mechanism. Like, how does this work? The rules are really not clear. They're even not clear. That was the interesting part. They keep arguing about the rules.
Yeah, they keep arguing about the tradition of the whole thing.
Yeah, it just made me think about like, what's the fucking point in anything?
Well, they argue about the rules, but then they don't ever break the rules in the end.
Mm-hmm.
They go to use the cameras, but the cameras break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote down, they talk about the rules too much and makes me question everything.
Yeah, that's fair, to be honest. I did wonder, like, the same, like, what would happen if when you lose at chess or backgammon, or what do they do? Just sit there and play it and then or go to bed? Like,
Yeah.
You know, it's quite a short film otherwise. I guess the reason it's a hunt is because the granddad was a hunter,
Yeah.
and then that's the way they have to sacrifice the person.
Except when they get chess.
Yeah, because you don't have to sacrifice anyone in chess.
Although you could set it up like that you have to do chess with people. That would be cool. I could write a better movie.
Go on then.
Yeah, so they start chasing Margot Robbie. I mean, Samara Weaving around.
She was actually considered for the role of this.
Of course she was.
I don't know if any like interviews or any contact took place, but she was considered for the role.
2 headshots of Samara Weaving and
Just do like a
Margot Robbie.
street fighter, like fight.
No, it's just 2 images and getting swapped, and they just both look the same. It's like, oh my god, such a difficult choice. They start chasing her around. There's one bit that I laughed out loud. Did you note this down?
I didn't.
You looked at me, very puzzled. But I thought it was the funniest scene in the movie, where they chase her around and Jared Kushner finds her first. Jared Kushner doesn't want to kill her, and they start arguing. Goes, why didn't tell me? Why you didn't tell me? And he says, I had to play along to get you out. And there's like sappy soap opera music starts playing. Like we're supposed to take that seriously. That argument that I had to play along to get you out. And it was like, why didn't you tell me? Oh, because you wouldn't marry me. Yeah. Why don't you just stay girlfriend and boyfriend?
They do cover that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think that's in that conversation where he's like, if I didn't propose, you'd have left. If we didn't get married, you would have left. So
Yeah.
no matter what, you would have left.
And that's what sappy music starts playing. And I think the movie's trying to make us feel genuinely something. And it was laughable.
Yeah, it's supposed to be laughable.
I don't think so.
I think so. Because it's a comedy.
Because Samara Weaving didn't have a comeback to that. The funny bit would have been if, yeah, then let's not get married or let's not stay together.
I think
Just
the
protect
joke
me.
is that you're supposed to think that.
Okay. I don't give that much credit for this movie.
I've
That's too subtle for this movie.
always it's spot on.
Okay. And what's the rule against not telling her? Why can't Jared Kushner tell her that if they marry, then she has to play this game and might be deadly?
Because she wouldn't have believed him. They cover that as well.
I don't know, it's just so flimsy.
Sure. Because, yeah, most horror is purely logical.
No, stop shitting on horror. That's why I hate this film and you like this film, is because it's shitting on horror films.
Yeah, probably.
But like not in a smart way. It doesn't work as a comedy either because everyone's unlikable and it doesn't really make fun of horror tropes except that time, but which we disagree on.
Okay. So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Where would you have hidden?
The kitchen looked like the safest place and there's like weapons there as well.
Kitchen was surprisingly small. Like the butler, when she's like
Yeah.
hiding under the thing for the butler.
I would have gone in the kitchen. Or maybe I just don't do anything if I know how incompetent these people are. I just sit down in the drawing room.
But they would have genuinely murdered her if she sat still. The incompetence comes from her being a moving target.
No, because sometimes she isn't even there and they shot each other. So
Or they
not really.
shoot the maids.
Yeah. Incompetent villain does not make for a compelling villain.
For you. I thought it was funny.
Where would you hide?
Where would I hide? I'd have definitely locked myself in somewhere. I'd have picked a room and I would have just moved a bunch of shit in front of the doors and looked for the secret panels and put a bunch of shit in front of there as well and just sat there.
Yeah, I was thinking the kitchen would be good. Like, you go into like a cupboard or something. If I'm Samara Weaving, I can't do it with my body, but as with Samara Weaving's body, I could probably go into the cutlery.
The cutlery drawer. If you're
Cutlery
Samara
drawer.
Weaving,
Yeah.
you can fit into the cutlery drawer.
Yeah, she is like a fork.
No, that's an episode title. If you're Samara Weaving, you can fit into the cutlery drawer.
I hated the score. It was the most. I don't usually talk about the score, but this stood out so much as generic, fuck, horror kind of. There's a guy from a YouTube library or something.
Somebody's googled horror
Yeah.
horror music.
Horror movies. It was so bad. It's so obnoxiously bad.
I never noticed it once. The only time I noticed the music is the Ready or Not song
Okay.
on the record,
Okay.
which I didn't understand. Like the point of.
Because spooky. That's the reason everything happens in this movie. Yeah.
Second question then. What weapon would you have picked?
In the kitchen, probably like a chef's knife or a machete if they have.
No, if you were one of the chasing people.
Ah.
Do you think you could use a crossbow effectively?
First of all, I would put on one of those armors that I don't think it was in this movie, but rich people usually have like an armor stand because I'm afraid for my life around these people. And then
One of the old muskets. Or just like a sword.
I've heard muskets are very ineffective.
Yeah.
And they were like restricted to old weapons for some reason.
It's tradition. That's what they say.
I would grab a Axe body spray and a lighter.
You try and set the bride alight with fire.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have picked the crossbow. It'd be fun to use a crossbow.
That's probably the most effective one in there.
The only thing I don't like about the crossbow is two things. One, it's already loaded.
Okay.
They take it off the wall loaded, which would ruin everything in a crossbow.
Yeah.
Because, once you bend it back and leave it there, it would be bent like for a while, especially if you left it there for like decades.
Yeah.
And you fire in it, it'll be like, it'll just fall on the ground in front of you. I assume, in my extensive knowledge of crossbows, that's what I would guess.
Let's talk about how the bride, Samara Weaving, is not skilled or competent. It's just lucky, and she makes all the stupid mistakes. And please don't give me the justification it's a horror film. There's not a good justification. There's plenty of good horror films.
There's plenty of good horror films, but there's plenty of horror films where people just make terrible decisions.
Yeah, but there's not a justification for this.
But when is it a justification then? How can you watch like Scream and everyone's stupid as fuck and be like, oh yeah, that's a good horror film, and then watch this and be everyone's stupid as fuck and be like, well, that's why that's a bad film.
For this movie to work, we desperately needed to like Samara Weaving.
I like Samara Weaving. She was funny. You didn't like Samara Weaving.
Okay. Why did you like her? She makes the stupidest mistakes anyone in her situation ever could.
I don't think that's true.
Okay,
Some of it's true.
let's go through it.
Okay.
She fucking screams all the time.
Yeah, it's scary.
She's not alone. She's not alone.
You would naturally scream at things.
She runs into the woods and picks the only place that has no woods in it. It's just like a plain field. And she runs there and screams.
Screaming for
because
help.
she's being followed. But she alerts everyone else to their location.
Screaming for help. That's very common in like films, horror films.
It's just I wanted her to shut up so much. Because she always screamed in a very inappropriate way where someone would be alerted to her location. You know?
That's what she's hoping for.
But be smarter. Like, I can't like a person like this. I can't.
I just feel like that's really common in like films where
can't get into the
they
film.
get to the main road and they're like, help, 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 and then at the very last second they get grabbed by the bad guy. I've seen that so many times. Even in my limited amount of horror films I've seen, I've seen that.
What about when she drives for a while and then the car stops and she stays in the car and starts shouting? Even though someone's after her.
She has a mental breakdown in the car because she's so exhausted. I don't like that scene because she drives for a solid like 3 or 4 minutes, and then within about 30 seconds, the guy on foot catches up with her. That's the stupid part of that film.
Maybe because he heard her screaming.
But you can't travel that far. That's why her screaming doesn't seem odd to me. Because in my head, she's so far away, it doesn't matter. She was like speeding. You know, how far do you get in 2 or 3 minutes when you're going 50 miles an hour? You get 2-3 miles.
Yeah.
And he makes that in 30 seconds. It made sense to me that she was screaming and having a breakdown because she was far enough away.
Mm-hmm.
When the guy just like, hello. Pff.
I just hated that she escapes into the woods and she picks the only place. Like you can see in the frame, it's like an above frame, that there's woods all around her. And she picks like
It's like a clearing in the woods. But I thought that was more filming location. The idea is it's supposed to be in the middle of the woods and there's woods all around, but they've picked this clearing so you can see what's happening. So trees don't get in the way as you're filming it.
That's bullshit.
No, it's not.
You film close-ups. You film creatively in a different way, not just the zoomed out fucking...
Nah, you see what's happening. Otherwise, you're going to have close-up shaky cam nonsense, and it's going to be awful. It's going to give me a
You
headache.
don't have to have shaky cam. Close-ups, shoot in the woods. It's a age-old tradition of horror movies shot in the woods for cheap. There's good horror films that are shot in the woods that exist, that people are hiding behind bushes and stuff. You know, you show her like peeking out of the bush. You...
In a bright white wedding dress.
It's dirty by now. Like, I can't get attached to her character because she doesn't even make a plan.
Run is the plan.
She's far away from Sigourney Weaver in Alien, right? Because even though it goes wrong in Alien, Sigourney Weaver has a plan. She's gonna run, trap the alien, escape pod. There's nothing. There's nothing. She just screams and runs, and I fucking hate her.
That's what you would do in a situation where you're getting
I wouldn't
trying to get
scream
murdered.
all in inappropriate ways. I would try to hide and be quiet so they don't find me. And in my head, I would start to formulate a plan. Okay, so what do I do if they find me? So what do I do if they start looking here? What do I do if I'm on the run? You know, like anything.
Okay. I don't know where we are in the film. Let's just talk about random bits because I think we've covered the plot pretty extensively by now. What did you think of the brother's character?
Well, again, Adam Brody is acting.
Yep.
He's the only one, not overacting or underacting. So he was good.
But not the acting. The
character. I didn't really buy it.
No.
For a lot of the times. Like, there's a scene where they find Samara Weaving screaming and shouting in the woods. And it's just Adam Brody. And it's like, let's come back. But then their father is there. And he knew their father was there, right? Hiding.
Yeah.
Behind the tree. Watching them. Now, either Adam Brody had to have a giant heel turn just after that. Or he's stupid. Because at that point, he's on the side of Samara Weaving. It would have been easier to escape from one person, the dad, than the whole family. And he brings them back to the whole family. And if the heel turn was after he brings them back to the family, then it's too sudden.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really understand his redemption arc.
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be that kid who, in the flashback, was horrified at what's happening.
Yeah, I think he even needed to be on side earlier and then get murdered by the family to show that they were like ruthless killers. Because that would have added some more threat.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like you say, just gone along with it in the end. One scene that I really enjoyed in this whole film is the goat barn.
You know, this horror movie Cat Scares where there's like, meow. They did that with the goat in this one.
Yeah. First of all, the kid. Do you remember what happens with the kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shoots her in the hand. And she's like, you little shit, and punches him in the head.
Yeah. That was also stupid of her. She's getting chased by everyone in this fucking family. And why would she trust the kid?
Yeah, because there's a kid. Kid's not going to kill someone. Kid's not going to shoot someone.
So?
What do you mean so? You can't say so. You can't say, why would you trust a kid? And then I explain like, why you trust a kid, and you'd be like, so?
It can't. If she was panicking and screaming and shit, I wouldn't trust fucking anyone in there. Not even a fucking baby.
The one set they built for this film was the goat pit, which is so disgusting.
No.
No?
I felt like that was very unsafe and whatever, Disney horror.
There's a goat pit full of murdered corpses.
Yeah.
Going back to the car, did you not think it was funny with the roadside assistance? So she has this conversation with like the roadside assistance guy because she pushes a button. Fancy cars have bits where you talk to someone in a head office and they tell you, wait, what's going wrong? And she just has this like back and forth argument with this guy who's trying really hard to be polite, and she's like, "I'm getting fucking attacked, Justin."
No, I was checked out by that point. It might have been funny, but I hated everything that preceded it. And I hated that she just keeps staying in that car, which is the worst thing she could do at that point.
Like
but it's a horror film.
No, because she's driven 2-3 minutes.
No, get out.
She is well within her right. Take time, have a little breakdown, scream a little bit.
That's all she does.
Compose herself, and then get out and do some stuff.
That's all she does. She screams a little bit every time, all the time. I have a love-hate relationship with the Cruella de Sonic.
Okay.
The old lady overacts like fuck, and it was sometimes funny.
Yeah, that's the point of it.
Sometimes it was funny, especially in the background where everyone's just like stone-faced or not acting at all, acting like extras, and she's like doing faces. She's not doing the mean face. I wrote down about the pit. Oh no, a Halloween skeleton. It was like an almost white Halloween skeleton that you can get at a Halloween store.
It was like rotted flesh hanging off the bones.
Not really.
Yes, there was.
Some of them, but like it was so
exaggerating
sanitized.
for effect.
Someone says "holy dick." I thought that was very natural dialogue.
People say weird things.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, as we said, like she gets dirtier and she gets bloodier as the movie goes on, and her hair is like really mangled. At later, it's like really stuck together. It reminded me of a Pauly Shore, Brendan Fraser movie called Encino Man.
From Hollywood Pictures, he's a caveman who just stepped into the 20th century. Whoa! Now, 2 guys from Encino are going to teach him to be normal.
That's boring, dude. Normal. We're going psycho with him, bro. Shut. Sexy kid.
Encino Man.
I'll be back.
Rated PG.
I've never heard of it.
It's about Brendan Fraser as a caveman and Pauly Shore thaws him out, and they go to high school together as a 35-year-old caveman.
That sounds like it's like a really specific time in cinema, just before the fall of Pauly Shore and the rise of Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, it was over at George of the Jungle kind of era.
Watch out for that tree.
So they capture her.
Yes.
And then another funny moment, not on purpose funny moment, they go into this ritual room.
Yep.
And everyone has hoods. And I just thought of the Hot Fuzz for the greater good.
It's all about the greater good.
The greater good.
That scene. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, the Hot Fuzz scene is a parody of horror films. And that's what this is kind of trying to be as well.
Kind of trying, yeah.
One scene that goes against what you're saying, at the end of it, you have this really close-up of this really bloody, battered face. It's when Grace, which is Samara Weaving's character, batters the mum to death with the little, like, mystery box. I thought it was quite a brutal thing.
And then again, we have the heel turn of Jared Kushner.
He becomes evil.
He becomes evil. I almost bought it, but not quite. I think it was too quick still. And too much of that direction. So like I think what they were going for is that she's killing his family.
Yep.
And I think that's making him turn evil.
No, I think they even mention it in the film. What turns him evil is the fact that he's not going to get her anyway. I think they have a conversation after Adam Brody gets killed. I think he even says to her then, because he's holding her head at the time, "You're not going to be with me after this, are you?" And she doesn't answer. And it's then like, she's like, "Oh, you're hurting me," because he starts squeezing her head.
Yeah, that scene went on way too long as well. She's like, "Oh yeah, I know, he's gonna be the evil now, yeah, I know, get on with it." It just felt too sudden.
Oh, another thing you did laugh at, actually, I heard you laugh out loud for this.
Okay.
I can't imagine it was for like comedy reasons, but more for stupidity reasons. When he's handcuffed to the bed and he rubs the chains against the bed to chop the wood.
Oh yeah, because that was funny. Yeah, it almost felt like a Mission Impossible scene. It's like, are we gonna spend the whole movie of him chained to the bed and just occasionally to turn back. It's almost 1/16 of the way through.
That would not work.
No.
I could tell you that you would be there for a decade and you
Yeah.
would not get through that 4-poster solid oak bed with 3 links of a handcuff chain rubbing against it.
Yeah. Didn't someone just let him out or something?
No, he actually broke it.
He actually broke
He
it.
actually broke it in the end.
Okay, I thought someone lets him out. That would have been funny. If he
Yeah.
like spends the whole movie doing that, and then at the end someone just lets him out. It just looks like it barely made a dent.
They were unlocked all along.
Yeah. They were comedy sex handcuffs.
See, that would have been funny.
Yeah.
Pulled it out of like the honeymoon kit or something.
Yeah. Come on. This movie is so disappointing. We're coming up to the end, and I have a suggestion for change for the end as well.
Okay. I was really surprised at the end. I thought throughout the film, I thought this whole mysticism thing was bullshit. I thought even though they talk throughout the film about like mystery deaths in the family, I thought it was all superstition and I thought it was going to be nonsense. I thought they were going to like be arrested at the end. So when they started exploding, I was like, what the fuck? You, on the other hand, literally called it. You 30 seconds before anyone exploded, you were like, pfft.
Yeah. Because I went the other way. I thought it would be funnier if they didn't explode.
Okay.
It's almost like a double bluff kind of thing. You're bluffing me that this is fake. So, yes, they're gonna explode. And that didn't give me much comedic value. What would have been funny if they didn't explode and they just had to sit around awkwardly and deal with the situation? I thought that would have been much funnier if they like got to like a policeman, have to file out a report and interview people, and or just a straight aftermath, and they just awkward there, like standing around, like, okay, now what? Like, I thought that would have been way funnier.
If they're just standing around, they still have to kill Samara Weaving because she's a witness.
Well, yeah.
They if they don't kill her, then she's like a liability. So the film kind of carries on if you do that.
I
Which
guess
doesn't
so.
really work.
I guess so. But I just like, whatever. They explode. Called it.
Yeah. I thought at the very most they would just kind of like wither and die. Cool. That was Ready or Not, the 2019 smash hit. 1,000 times its budget, 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Absolutely fantastic film, as agreed by Dan and Rick.
If you hate horror, like Rick,
Yeah.
you might like this film. If your every justification in this film is that horror films are bad, actually, then you might like this film.
True story. It's accurate.
On the other hand, I fucking hated it. You know, you have your bad films like Catwoman and Suspiria.
Yeah.
I feel like if I didn't on purpose watch a lot of bad films, this would be on top of my worst list. I watch a lot more worse films than you do.
Cool. I'm going to leave you with a fun fact before
Yeah.
we get on to the out of 10s and before we get on to your recommendation. My last fun fact is that they only had 5 candelabras, so they had to keep moving them from room to room so they could film the next scene for mood lighting. It was like Samurai Cop, where they between scenes they had to keep swapping guns because they didn't have
yeah.
enough guns for everyone.
Yeah.
Cool. Out of 10, I'm predicting... Oh, can I predict what you're going to
Go
say?
on.
I'm going to predict... Oh, you said it was really bad. So, as a 1. I'm predicting a 1 from you out of 10.
I was actually gonna go 2.
Oh, I was going to say 2.
But-
Ah. I was going to say 2. I was like, no, you've just labelled it one of the worst films of all time. You can't give it a 2.
Well-
Because 0 has to be the worst film of all time.
Yeah.
And then 1s have to be next up, right?
I feel bad for all the movies you recommended me because this lowers the bar for like the A-Team is like a masterpiece compared to this.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed there's a lot of like similarities in movies you recommend me that I don't like certain aspects, and it's usually like genericness, boring, and this was both.
Okay.
And I don't think Jumanji or the A-Team was both.
Okay.
Like at least Jumanji things are happening, and or A-Team, there's like you can't get bored in that movie because it's like a fucking ADHD movie. But this was fucking boring as well, not just generic, and I just hated it. But I guess it was competently shot, even though it's fucking boringly shot. Adam Brody is good. Few unintentional laughs, so
Okay.
barely push it to the 2 range.
So what's a 1? But what's a zero?
The worst movie I've ever seen is an independent movie called Nine Songs,
Right.
which was I watched during a marathon of movies that were banned. That's when I learned that just because it was banned, that doesn't mean it's good. It's supposed to be this indie exploration of a relationship, but it's literally like softcore porn. They go to a concert, softcore porn. They go to a concert and do this 9 times, and nothing else happens.
Okay.
And for adjusted to budget, it's Attack of the Clones. That's a 1. Yeah, I don't think I have a 0. I don't think I.
Okay, wow.
I just don't think. I think it should start at 1.
Okay.
So my absolute lowest is 9 songs for indie, and for big budget movies is Attack of the Clones.
Whenever I rate things, there's a one film, song, show, whatever it is. There's one that's the 10. Mm-hmm. Everything else, nothing else can be a 10 because that's the best. Okay. And there's one that's the 0 because nothing else is worse.
I don't really believe in the worst or the best. I think in like subjective art forms such as this, like music or movies, I don't think there's like movies that I think are perfect, like Fargo or Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Really, like it's like Hot Fuzz. Mm-hmm. It's like perfectly written, perfectly executed. I can't find any faults in it. That doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoy them the most.
Okay.
You know, so that's why I can't find like best, you know. I love Hot Fuzz. I think it's one of the best films ever written. I think Shaun of the Dead is funnier.
Yeah.
I love Fargo, even though it's like a perfect movie. I think it's a solid 10 out of 10 movie. But I love The Big Lebowski better. You know, it's things like that, which is a bit conflicting. How would you rate this movie?
I'd give it like a solid 6 or 7.
Don't give it a 7.
It's well made.
don't rate it higher than Whiplash.
I did say 7 specifically just to see your reaction.
Don't rate it higher than The Thing.
It's a 6.
An actual horror film.
6.1.
Boo. I'm just a troll.
No, seriously, it's probably somewhere between a 5 and a 6. It's rewatchable, but it's not something that I would go out of my way to rewatch. Yeah. What's your recommendation? Oh God.
So, let's watch a real fucking horror film.
Oh fuck.
A real fucking horror film. We can't have you justify this. We can't let you like this.
I'm gonna just pick every stupid mistake that everyone makes throughout this whole thing.
There's an Exorcist film now in cinemas.
Okay.
I haven't seen, but I heard it's terrible.
The Nun 2.
The Nun 2. No, it's Exorcist. Exorcist Believer. The Nun 2. So, I want to watch the best Exorcist movie.
The Exorcist.
Which is obviously Exorcist 3 Legion.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much I should reveal. It's a very interesting movie.
I'm going to pick every stupid thing that anyone does.
Fine.
For the whole film.
Fine, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's directed by a guy who wrote the original Exorcist novel, William Blatty, I think his name is. So it's very dialogue and character heavy. So it might grind it for you a lot.
That will only work if it's well acted.
There's a lot of weird cameos, and there's a lot of weird things, and a lot of weird behind the scenes stuff. It's interesting to talk about, so yeah.
Okay.
Well, you don't need to see Exorcist or Exorcist 2 for that, by the way.
I think I've seen The Exorcist.
Yeah, but you don't need to.
Okay, cool.
It has some of the recurring characters, but it's very detached.
Cool. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dan Loves Ready or Not. We are on Patreon. For £1 or $1 a month, you can get an extra bonus episode a month.
Yeah, become a Pop-Tart.
No.
I'm going to make this a thing.
No, you know. All of our Patreons just unsubscribed because you keep referring to them as Pop-Tarts.
That's cute.
No, it's not.
Okay. Patreon.com/IHateYourMovie. Patreon.com/IHateYourMovie.
Cool. Thank
Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram.
you. Yeah.
All links below.
Sweet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.